Welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be building yet another aquarium. Today we are going to be making a 5-gallon betta tank. Now before we get started on this tank, we have done a fill test on it by putting it on a sturdy surface, filling it with water, and ensuring that there was no leaks for 48 hours. Always make sure to start with a fill test. To start off this betta tank, I'm going to start with a layer of 1/4 to 1/2 inch black lava rock. On top of that, I'm going to spread out a little bit of carbon. And a little bit of calcium carbonate sand. Now to add a little bit more lava rock. This scape will feature dragonstone. And before I continue adding layers, I want to make sure that one large piece actually fits and needs to be seated in this layer. This piece will also be hiding the filter, so it's important that we put the filter in and make sure the rock fits at the same time. Now because this is a betta tank, you want to make sure that you don't create any pinch zones between the glass and the rock, where the betta may try to swim through and get stuck. So make sure that you leave a nice large opening between the glass and the dragonstone, or any stone, or really any driftwood. You don't want the betta getting trapped and then scraping its body. Now we're going to move on to one of my favorite substrates, fluorite. For this scape, I decided to use fluorite red because it's a bit heavier in iron than the regular fluorite. Now that the fluorite is down, we're going to be putting down our dragonstone. Now this is the layer you really want to lay stone on. You don't want to lay it on any type of aquasoil. It's best to lay your stone down on something like fluorite or something like lava rock, something sturdy, something that's not going to move and shift over time. Now before we cap it off with aquasoil, we want to make sure that we get off any residual fluorite or rocks that may be stuck on the dragonstone. To finish up the scape, we're going to be adding some controsoil. I like controsoil because it's very long lasting, very durable, and it won't go bad on you for quite a number of years. Now this isn't quite what I wanted, so bear with me as we actually start shifting the scape a little further back on the right side. Okay, perhaps the move wasn't ideal, but I think this is the scape I was looking for. Now for the front of the tank, I'm actually going to be putting down a carpet of Monte Carlo. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a small layer of controsoil along with Eco-Complete. Now you might be wondering, why put Eco-Complete on that beautiful soil? Well, actually in a lower tech setting, what the Eco-Complete is going to let that Monte Carlo do is grow a much tighter and down-to-earth carpet. Now, how exactly does it do that? It does that because it is denser than aquasoil, and so it is able to weigh the plant down. Another reason why this Eco-Complete is going to help with a tighter carpet is because unlike an aquasoil, which is spherical and homogeneously sized, they're all the same size and they're all round, these have more of an erratic pattern, they're all different sizes, and what that helps do is it helps lock everything in. Okay? There's not as much slipping that's going on, and the roots have much more to grab onto. Plus, it has a much more porous nature than the aquasoil. And so, they have a lot more to attach to, they have a lot more to go under. What it allows them to do is get a much more solid footing. Now this aquarium is complete, and I'm going to fill it with water and let it cycle for about a week or two before I plant it. I am a firm believer of cycling your aquarium before planting it. The beginning stages of an aquarium are extremely chaotic. I mean, you have levels fluctuating all over the place, you have algae appearing left and right, and it's much easier to combat these things without any plants in play. Also, when there's no plants in here, and what we're going to do to this particular tank is we're probably going to raise the temperature up to about 84, 85 degrees, make sure there's a lot of aeration, and what that is going to let us do is move through the cycling process extremely quickly. The cooler the water is, the slower the growth rate of the bacteria. The hotter the water is, the more growth rate you're going to see. But be careful, because the higher the water gets in temperature, the more oxygen you need to give it. If the water gets oxygen deficient at a high temperature, instead of growing, those bacteria colonies are going to stall. So raising the temperature is a great trick to get that aquarium cycling quickly, but at the same time, make sure that you have enough oxygen to feed those hungry bacteria. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a capful of stability. Since I have it, I'll also add in a capful of pristine. And last but not least, we have to add in the filter, which in this case is going to be an air-driven sponge filter. Well, that's it for now. I'm going to throw a heater in it and put on a lid and let it cycle for about a week or two, and we'll be back to do some planting. And then we're going to see the tank really start to come to life. It's been about 2 weeks since I put this tank together, and now it's nice and cycled and ready to plant. I'm going to start off with planting Monte Carlo. Alright, there we go. Give it some time, that's going to grow into a nice carpet. Next I'm going to add in just a few cryptocoryne parva. I'm going to add a few cardinal plants. And in the left corner, I'm going to add sunset hygro. And I'm going to finish up today's planting with a bit of bucephalandra. Well, that's it for now. There's 3 more species of stem plants that will be going inside this aquarium, but they'll be coming in a few days. So we'll revisit this tank in just a few days. It's been a little over a week since our last planting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my hands on these plants any sooner. Now, these plants are actually coming out of a low-tech tank with similar conditions to this one, and so they're not going to waste as much energy converting into whatever form they need to in order to survive in this tank. To start off, I'm going to plant the SG variant of bacopa salzmannii purple. Next, we're going to move on to one of my favorites, golden Nesaea. These particular specimens aren't the best, but they will grow into beautiful plants given some time. To finish up in the back right corner, we're going to plant Rotala Yarabje. Now all this tank needs is some time to become nice and lush. Unfortunately, this tank is only going to be with me for about another week. In a week I'll be sure to take a video of the tank to show you how everybody looks before it goes out. Normally I'd like to keep a tank longer, but unfortunately time is of the essence here. Now with all the planting done, there's just a few more things I'd like to add in. First, I'd like to add in a few new inhabitants for the tank. 2 nice blue ram's horn snails. And lastly, a nice little bottle of microfauna from another tank of mine. Now this is going to be all the little stuff that you see within an aquarium, the little ostracods, copepods, detritus worms, all that little stuff that you see moving within the bed. But ultimately these things keep the aquarium healthy and they keep it clean. With that, that completes today's planting, and we'll see this tank in about a week to see how it has all developed. It's been a month since this tank's last planting, and a month and a half since its creation. Let's go ahead and check on its progress. To start off with, the Monte Carlo carpet is looking very healthy. The heads are looking very green, very vibrant, and every leaf is just looking fantastic. It'll be a while before the carpet really fills in, but that's okay. This is a slow-paced tank after all. The Cryptocoryne parva is slowly working its way in. Eventually it will dominate that whole corner, but it will take some time. The bucephalandras are slowly crawling themselves onto the rocks, attaching themselves. A few of them have come up and needed some replanting, but overall I think they're doing very, very good, and their colors are fantastic. Speaking of fantastic color, the Sunset Hygro offers a beautiful pastel pink, and it is really filling in nicely. It's mostly growing in the back more than the front, but that's okay. It'll become a big bush in that corner at some point. The cardinal plants are doing very well. I've actually already trimmed them and put them back in, because what you're seeing mostly is new growth. There is some old growth left, but for the most part they're doing well. The golden Nesaeas are dragging a bit behind, but to be fair, they were a bit scraggly and small when I put them in there. They are a very light-loving plant, and they can be a finicky plant in aquariums. And sometimes it takes a while to get them going, but once they start going, they do pretty well. I'll give them another month. If they don't do well, perhaps I'll replace them with something else. The Rotala Yarabje is doing fantastic. I'm absolutely loving its growth. It's filling in very nicely. I wish there was a little bit more of a red color, but that's okay, because I think the rest of the tank is pretty colorful. And moving over to, I think, what is a star of this aquarium, which is the bacopa salzmannii purple, which is just growing in this beautiful vivid purple, and I think tying up the tank nicely. So, given some time, this is going to be one nice full tank. Hopefully, over the years, it will develop into a tropical looking jungle. So there's quite a little ecosystem already going on in this tank. There's a little ram's horn snails going on, there's bladder snails going on, we have little copepods going on, little ostracods going on. All kinds of things for the betta to snack on. A couple more things. I did make a plexiglass lid for this tank with several openings to allow for feeding as well as good airflow. There is actually an air pocket between the bottom of this lid and the top of the water, because bettas do like to breathe atmospheric air. And that allows also for a humid environment, which is also good for the betta. There are a couple openings back here also for the bubbler and the heater as well. For the lighting, I went with the Finex Planet Plus ALC. I really wanted to get the Planet Plus CRV, however there were budget constraints to this aquarium, and so that was just not going to happen. Now my only problem with the ALC is that it's very heavy in the blue spectrum. So by the time I manipulate the colors and get the right balance I like, the light's just a little bit too dim for my liking. The CRV, on the other hand, puts a lot more emphasis into the red spectrum, which really allows you to brighten up that tank without losing a nice color. I hope you enjoyed this video and the creation of this aquarium. Please check back in the future for future videos. Until then, happy aquarium keeping!